Alright, I just recorded this video and then managed to turn my phone off halfway through and lost the video. This is the start of the food growing in our rental property. I put in a couple of tomatoes. They were 20 centimeters tall when I put them in the ground about 3 weeks ago. See, this one's about 1 meter tall now. He's a green zebra. He's starting to get some nice flowers on him. Cut the suckers off and I've put them in potting mix. There's a little sucker there. I might just pull him off. And there, I might keep that sucker because it's starting to go right up, which is nice. So hopefully in the next month or so we'll start getting lots of tomatoes off there. Got the grouse lice, I don't know how to say it, which has got lots of flowers and even a little tomato at the back there. I'm going to come out with my electric toothbrush to pollinate those once it's starting to put flowers in. Some marigolds, and I've got a couple of passion fruit seedlings. Some pawpaw that has been started from one of the seeds from my very epic pawpaw tree back in Kendall Street. Got a what do they call it? This spinach thing. I'll remember probably when I'm up the other end of the garden. Some marigolds to bring in pollinators and deter pests or whatnot, and also they're just really pretty. Over here I lightly cultivated and conditioned some soil. Probably I dug down about 5 centimeters of finger depth. I don't know if we can see that, but it's pretty loose and fluffy. I go through the technique of how I did that once I get out the back, where I've been working on some more beds. Got the kitchen compost, so mostly it's kitchen scraps go in there. Here I've got some cucumbers that have been very eaten by possums, so I've put them in this cage. I think this one's going to come back. He's still quite green. Some of his leaves are there. There was one here. It's nothing now. It's got a bit of nut grass. This one will come back definitely, but they're in jail now, so possums don't get it. Over here I've been working on a few more beds. I've created 1, 2. I dug up this pre-existing bed. So what I did with that is we used this old bread tray. We dug as deep as we could until we got to the clay layer, shoved it onto the bread tray, sieved it out, and it created nice fluffy soil and got rid of all the rocks, which is good, and all of the weeds on the top layer, which is good. In here is one of my new ones. I've actually put a whole bunch of sprouted mung beans and lucerne or alfalfa, but also in here I've planted about 100 radish seeds, so hopefully I'll get a bit of a quick crop before my seedlings have all come to transplanting stage. Over here's a bigger one, so that one's 1 bread tray across, this one's 2 bread trays across. But really, the masterpiece of this garden is the compost. I brought in a whole lot of material, a whole lot of sugarcane mulch and local horse manure. Activated it with lots of human urine and ura and blood and bone. And last night it got up to 65 degrees. Which is too hot for the compost, but this is now at 61, which is pretty perfect cooking temperature. It does not destroy all the beneficial bacteria in it. So I'm trying to do the Berkeley method for composting, which is turning very frequently, about every 4 days, getting a proper balance of nitrogen to carbon. I also added my aeration tube, which just makes sure air gets right into the middle. So it should have lots of air coming into it since it's in a wire frame. It's not very pretty, but it does seem to be working very well and very quickly. So I'm hoping I'll have compost within 2 weeks that is usable. Anything that's not composted down, I can just use as mulch on the top layer, which is good anyway, because I've basically used up all my sugarcane mulch. I ordered 4 bales, and most of them are in there. I have about 3/4 of a bale left for mulching on the top. I had recorded a video prior, but it deleted itself about what the courtyard's looking like. So this has got all the plants from Kendall Street that came from the pots. This is my little tropical area, which is very highly shaded, which is great for the philodendrons and the gingers. And I've got my Hoya, which is still looking pretty happy. I've got my fruit trees in the pots. So I got some chocolate pudding fruit, chocolate pudding fruit, chocolate pudding fruit. I got my, what is it? Type of guava, strawberry guava. Got that apricot-y tasting thing. Got my gumichama. Got my New Guinean patience. Got this is a bit of a cultivation area, so these are the canistels I started from seed. Canistels I started from seed. Some ice cream bean, which are doing very happy. And some things got very bashed about being in storage for a while. They were mostly in heavy shade. This native mulberry basically died right back, but has definitely come good since. That guy, the ruby rust or whatever you call him, the native, he did pretty badly, but he's come back. And my bottle tree is still happy as ever because they're pretty tolerant to most things. My feijoas looking beautiful. My 2 feijoas. My ice cream bean has grown heaps and has buds on them again. I got to figure out a way to actually pollinate those buds because I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be hand pollinated. I'm not sure at which point the flowers are open and which point the flowers are closed. That one looks like, where are we? The flowers have been spent on those, but there must be only a very brief period between them being open and being spent. My biggest loss was our sunrise lime, which died. I thought I could cut it back just above the graft and it would reshoot, but it just died. I don't know really why. My berries are doing happy. This one's got some new growth. They're getting quite a bit of sun again. This is Ali's toilet. I've also seeded it with a whole lot of lucerne seeds. So maybe I can whippersnipper off some green manure from her manure. I did get a whole bunch of sugarcane mulch, and I'm pretty sure it had seed in it. If you can see, everywhere I put it, there's been little lucerne coming up, which I'm not actually very happy about because most mulches should be weed seed free. Not that lucerene's a weed, but I don't particularly want them competing with the main plant in my pot. So that's basically the back garden as is. The figs that we had taken from cuttings from our mother fig tree. Kept all our succulents down this side where I won't be tempted to water them too much. So looking good. Some have been repotted because they rusted out their old homes. They're all looking pretty happy. The garden we've done the most establishing on has been this front gardens. So we've got lots of herbs in them. Some wild rocket, lots of parsley, oregano, marjoram, thyme, chives. Seeded a whole lot of beetroot and spring onion and chives in it. I thought we would be very decimated by possums, but it seems that only a few plants have been, and they're coming back. So we got some coriander and a parsley, and 3 corianders and a parsley that have been eaten. But the rest don't seem to be too munched up, which I'm very happy about. So here's the other one, the coriander on this one. So these have all been in the ground maybe 3 weeks. So they're all starting to fill out nicely. The coriander on this one's doing really well. Started a bunch of more seeds for coriander because I know they tend to bolt pretty quickly. I conditioned these gardens with compost from Kendall Street and horse manure. I'm pretty happy with how the horse manure worked. It didn't seem to have lots of weed seed or anything in it. See some beetroots coming up. Looks like some tomatoes, which must have come from the compost. I seeded some dill around there. It does seem to be coming up, which is cool. Got some sweet, some holy basil, parsley, marigolds, feverfew, and they all seem to be doing pretty well. So I'm happy that the horse manure wasn't contaminated and preventing the growth or the worms getting in. Not sure if the worms are in there, but the plants seem to be doing happy enough. Been really upping my propagation, so I will show how I start sprouting the seeds in a later video, but I sprout them in Ziploc bags, and in 2 or 3 days they sprout, and then I put them into a peat pot. And so these were just put in the peat pots yesterday, and they've already got their cotyledons all on them. So we got some broccoli, we got some, I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's some cabbages popping up already, some marigolds, the cucumbers, because I really wanted to get some more cucumbers in the ground. And so I get them up to there until they start getting a few true leaves, and then I put them into some bigger tube stock, and they seem to be growing really nice and happily like that. So they nice and quick turnover, which is really good. Here's some of the seeds I started just in the peat pots, and they've taken a lot longer, but a lot of these are capsicums and eggplants, which do take a little while longer to germinate than tomatoes and silver beets and broccolis and stuff. But I'm very happy with the new system of seedling starting. So these have all just been mulched with lucerne mulch, which has a whole lot of lucerne sprouting up in them. Hardenbergia has been one of the fatalities, I believe, of the move, which is sad. I'm not sure if I can ever understand the trick for Hardenbergia. Oh, but this is interesting. So this is my mulberry, my European mulberry, and he's normally supposed to be going into dormancy about now, but he's just put on a whole bunch of new growth. He was looking pretty unhappy. But he's even got little mulberries on him. Can you focus? I'm not sure if you'll focus, but that's very exciting. The sandpaper fig's pretty happy. He's in a very much dappled shade situation most of the time. He's got full sun for a little bit. That's the rest of my sugarcane mulch. So I've been up the ante on the compost, and especially trying to create quick compost. So I've got a front garden compost too, which is mostly just horse manure and weeds and leaf litter and a bit of human urine. Staghorn's looking very happy. He's just one of the lucky surprises that he's still alive, I find. But it's been good, so I like my new method of propagating. It does seem to put the turnaround to get seedlings ready a lot quicker. Obviously early days to make that claim right now, but it's promising thus far. I've got a whole bunch of sweet potato slips, and I didn't have enough potting soil, and I didn't want to just put soil from the garden in here. So this is just a mixture of potting mix, sugarcane mulch, all mixed up, and it seems to be holding enough liquid that the sweet potatoes are coming in pretty happy and healthy. Not sure if I'll get any sweet potatoes, but lots of leaves, so it should be good. So here's a bit more of my propagation stations. In here I've just in a tray I've planted a whole lot of lettuce seeds. You can see there's just one popped up there, but this was only planted 3 days ago, so I'm reckoning in the next 2 to 3 days I'll start seeing a whole bunch more of those, and I'll just transplant those out. I'm thinking I'm going to put them around the broad beans. Got some beans in there and a little key of what's what. These are some cuttings from those 2 big tomato plants. It's looking a bit droopy in the sun there, so I'm going to bring them around. And we've got the veranda, which has got some more of our tropical plants. The gumichama's looking pretty happy. It's getting a little sunburnt, but I think I'd like to get him used to being in the sun, so he'll be alright. He's healthy enough. But mostly it's been pretty good on the move for the plants. So there's been some major setbacks on most of them, but very few of them died. I'm going to say none of them, because some of them certainly have. Managed to get a few of the inside plants going. They're looking nice and happy and healthy. Our bedroom, which it's got philodendrons and arrowleaf plants and mondos and lots of stuff in there, and they've been put in that pot last couple of weeks, first day inside, but hopefully they'll also trail down and get the sun. I will show you the bags that I have been doing sprouting. So this was from Bumblebeat, I believe is the YouTuber. This idea I took from him. You get a Ziploc bag, you get some paper towels, you spread the seeds on the paper towels and spray it down with a spray bottle. And then you put in a Ziploc bag, give it a couple more sprays, and they'll just germinate in there, so you don't overwater them. Oh, this is good. Some of the eggplants here have started to sprout, so you can see a little root coming off that one. Roots. So that's good. These guys, in a day or two, I'll plant into some peat pots. Harder to see is the banana capsicum, which has a similar germination time to the eggplants, so hopefully they're starting to sprout, or will start to sprout soon. I just make sure I've been labelling them properly. So this had the marigolds in it as well as the coleus. Coleus are notoriously slow, but wait, I can see some. I've had a hard time germinating coleus, but this seems to be a very effective method. I can see at least 5 seeds that have sprouted. Status, so these were just put in yesterday. Could be some sprouts already. So I just put them in the bags and then I wrap them in a towel and I put them somewhere warm. So a few places I found that are good is straight on the pavers on the veranda or out the front. Stays nice and warm for germination. Up against the side of the freezer or on top of the hot water cylinder. So I'm going to put it back on top of the hot water cylinder. Keep them germinating nicely. But the plan for now is once that compost is all finished is to mix it through those double dug gardens, create some rich soil, probably leave it to rest for a week or so before we actually plant into it. Just because if it has been very high temperature, there might be some volatiles and stuff that need to become inert or whatever you call it. and get some plants in the ground, basically. All of the garden beds I've started have the fairly quick ability to revert back to lawn if the landlords would prefer that, or can be kept as garden beds if they prefer that. But so far the move to Manly has been good. I've been enjoying the gardening here, and I will make an update video in a week or two, I guess, to show myself in the future what's growing. Hey.